Hey guys, Nishquick here. So today I'm going to be doing another usability heuristics analysis. I remember the last time I did this was in I think late October, early November, and that was with the first Metroid Prime game. And before that I did it with Persona 5. So this is my third one, and it's going to be on a game I really wanted to talk about in depth on this channel for a while now, and that is Xenoblade Chronicles 2. And I did talk about Xenoblade 2 earlier in a review I did where I talked about both Xenoblade 1 and 2, but I wanted to talk a bit more on its game design and its the usability of the game a lot today, because I personally think it's a great game. I love it. It's in my top 10 favorite Switch games, but there are some issues I have with it that I really want to talk about, and this is going to be my first heuristic analysis, which is a little more critical. So you'll see examples of game design decisions that I'm not really a fan of, and how maybe things can improve, and how things can hopefully be better in the upcoming Xenoblade Chronicles 3 coming out in July. So just wanted to preface again by saying I love Xenoblade 2. I'm just having a little friendly gameplay design critique today on it. So without further ado, let's get started. And just a quick reminder, if you enjoy videos on video game analysis, reviews, usability studies, etc., be sure to give this video a like and subscribe to my YouTube channel, Nishquickpops, for more content. Also, hit the bell icon to know when my newest videos go live. And without further ado, let's get started. So before we get started, let me introduce the heuristics to you so you kind of know what's coming in order. So heuristic number 1 is visibility of system status. Heuristic 2 is match between system and the real world. Heuristic 3 is user control and freedom. 4 is consistency and standards. 5 is error prevention. 6 is recognition rather than recall. 7 is flexibility and efficiency of use. 8 is aesthetic and minimalist design. 9 is diagnosing errors. And finally 10 is help and documentation. So I just wanted to say that whenever I analyze these heuristics, within the game, I'm gonna be giving it a pass, fair, or fail, depending on how well I think it's implemented in the design of the overall game in certain scenarios. So anyways, let's get started and analyze Xenoblade 2's usability. Let's go. Heuristic number 1 is visibility of system status. So when users know the current system status, they learn the outcome of their prior interactions and determine next steps. Predictable interactions create trust in the product as well as the brand. So the battle UI of the Xenoblade Chronicles games has gotten a lot of criticism, especially with Xenoblade Chronicles 1 and Definitive Edition, of course. The arts palette on the bottom is somewhat obtrusive, and navigating through it is very cumbersome. The battle UI for Xenoblade 2 is actually a lot better, but it does come at somewhat of a price. So now arts are now dedicated to the face buttons on your Nintendo Switch Joy-Con or Pro Controller, and all of this is located on the bottom right of the screen, and there's only 3 arts this time, and you also have your blade special, so it's a little more simpler, which is a very good thing. One thing that Xenoblade 2 adds is the blade system. So the blades in your arsenal are located directly across from your arts on the bottom left of the screen. Your health is on the top left, and whenever you start or continue a blade combo, the tree to determine its path is on the top right. Though at first this might be considered a little overwhelming and confusing, I came to realize a lot of this information is necessary for the flow of combat to be understood and planned. Though I do agree, so much on screen can lead to cognitive load, so I'll give this a fair. All the information is vital to the flow of combat, but it's still a lot on screen at once. Heuristic number 2 is match between system and the real world. When a designer's controls follow real-world conventions and correspond to desired outcomes, it's easier for users to learn and remember how the interface works. This helps to build an experience that feels intuitive. This is a quick one, but the match between the system and the real world comes from a lot of the pouch items in this game, which refer to some of our real-world food. Food items like the beet paste paratha and cream orange paratha refer to stuffed Indian breads with the same name. It's interesting to see fantasy characters living in a fantasy world eating similar things to what we do in the real world. This one is definitely a pass. It's awesome seeing foods that I specifically have eaten a lot in my life being eaten by the characters in this game.
Cream orange paratha is the best.
Heuristic number 3 is user control and freedom. When it's easy for people to back out of a process or undo an action, it fosters a sense of freedom and confidence. Exits allow users to remain in control of the system and avoid getting stuck and feeling frustrated. Running from enemies in a Xenoblade game has never been easy. These enemies are monsters that are easily provoked and honestly just won't leave you alone, unless you or they are eventually defeated. Xenoblade 2's Run Away command is hidden away in the Tactics menu. You press and hold the R button and then press B to disengage with the enemy and run away, though a lot of the time you're still being chased. I would have preferred if the toggle to change the Arts menu to the Tactics menu would have been mapped to L instead of R. Since the face buttons and R are both on the right side of the controller, it feels a tad bit strange to execute the icon. This is a fair since even though you may execute the action, the enemy might still continue to chase you, and the placement of the buttons is a little weird as well. Heuristic 4 is consistency and standards. Jakob's law states that people spend most of their time using digital products other than yours. Users' experiences with those other products set their expectations. Failing to maintain consistency may increase the user's cognitive load by forcing them to learn something new. So I personally really don't like the navigation system in Xenoblade 2. The way it's set up is interesting. If you've played games like Batman Arkham City, God of War 2018, or even the newest Elden Ring from Software, you might be familiar with the horizontal compass navigation system. Xenoblade 2 does the same thing, but it doesn't really work out too well. Sometimes this navigation leads you in the wrong direction, especially when you have to move vertically. It shows you with a small arrow if you need to move up or down in elevation, but you're sometimes confused as to where exactly to go. Also, don't get me started on the multiple quest markers on the compass at once. Yeah, that's what I like to call cognitive load. Main thing is, if you're coming from the games I mentioned before or are used to that kind of navigation, Xenoblade 2's execution of this might throw you off a little. When it comes to consistency and standards, the armor and gear system really confuse me. After having played Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition, I expected gear to increase my defense. So if I wore different armor, my physical defense would increase, right? Same with ether defense. Not necessarily, because here in Xenoblade 2, you only have accessories and pouch items. And none of these accessories really increase your defense. When you're looking at driver stats, there's no defense stat, but your blades do have a defense stat. That's great, but it's kind of hard to change that. Sure, you can with aux cores and core chips and all that, but coming out of the easier to understand and standardized approach in Xenoblade 1, the transition to Xenoblade 2 just didn't feel very natural and consistent when it came to gear management. I'll give this a fair. I really don't feel like it deserves a fail, because once you get the hang of these features, they get the job done. You eventually get to your destination with the navigation, you eventually get your drivers and blades to be strong enough, but the process of understanding all of this is a little cumbersome. Heuristic 5 is error prevention. Good error messages are important, but the best designs carefully prevent problems from occurring in the first place. Either eliminate error-prone conditions or check for them and present users with a confirmation option before they commit to the action. So Xenoblade 2 does sort of have an error prevention mechanic, but it's somewhat acts as a curse that works against you. Those of you who know what a gacha system is know what I'm about to say, but for those who don't, gacha is sort of a randomized dice roll game you play, all set on luck and chance. In Xenoblade 2, this gacha system is implemented and it centers around your blades. Each of the 5 drivers on your team can resonate with a core crystal to get a new blade. There are common and rare core crystals, and of course, common and rare blades. Rare blades can be pulled from common core crystals and common blades from rare crystals. But of course, the rare blades are just, of course, a little more rare and harder to get. There is a way to increase your chance of getting a rare blade though, and sort of prevent the error of getting these common blades. Each driver has an aptitude towards a certain trait, and these boosters can raise those traits to give you a better chance of getting a rare blade. Though this isn't the most reliable thing to do since the system is based on chance and luck in the end. There have been many times where I used a legendary core crystal, the best kind of core crystal in the game, with many boosters to increase my aptitude. And in the end, I still get a common blade. I'll give this a fair, since the error prevention with the boosters is there. It's there, and it helps, but the fact that it's still a luck-based mechanic can really work against you sometimes. Number 6, recognition rather than recall. So humans have limited short-term memories. Interfaces that promote recognition reduce the amount of cognitive effort required from users. Xenoblade 2 has something called a driver combo, which is separate from your blade combos, but works in tandem with them. It works similarly to the break topple daze cycle in Xenoblade Chronicles 1, but less broken. It consists of break, topple, launch, and then smash. What's amazing about this combo is that you can easily identify the arts you need to execute this combo on your arts palette, since each of them have their own icon. Break looks like this, topple looks like this, launch is this, and finally this is smash. Whenever one of the actions is executed, a bar is displayed on top showing how long the effect will last, allowing you to plan out when to execute the next phase in the combo. Another great thing you can recognize easily in Xenoblade 2 is the orb weaknesses during chain attacks. Once you get a few good blade combos off and start to set up a chain attack, it's time to break the orbs that you've set up with your blade combos. As you switch between party members, you can easily tell which orbs can be broken with the blade specials you have available to you, since the orbs will be flashing on screen, and you know to target those orbs with the elemental blade specials that you have at your disposal. This heuristic gets a pass, since you can easily recognize which stage of the driver combo you're on and efficiently continue it, as well as know how to optimally execute the next chain attack by targeting the right elemental orb. Heuristic 7 is flexibility and efficiency of use. Flexible processes can be carried out in different ways so that people can pick whichever method works for them. As much as I hated the field skills in Xenoblade 2, they were unfortunately a necessity to progress through certain quests and even continue the story. These, in my opinion, highly unnecessary skills can be leveled up through the affinity chart seen in the menu for each blade you have equipped, and usually have at least 3 levels. What I personally don't like about them is that they halt your progress. You can get so far in one of the Titan worlds, and one specific environmental roadblock can lead you to backtrack all the way to another world to grind and level up your field skills. Yes, you could bond with new blades, but you'll eventually have to level up their field skills as well. And yes, again, the field skills on your team will stack, but just imagine needing to have multiple fire blades on your team just to burn down a single spider web to continue on with a dungeon in the story. It's kind of ridiculous. Outside of field skills, there are some times you might maybe want to eliminate the enemy aggro, because like I said before, Xenoblade enemies notice you from a mile away and run after you and just won't stop until they can attack you and defeat you, or you defeat them. It can get annoying at times, especially in the early Titan worlds. But in a usual JRPG, you can easily turn this feature off and on whenever you want, but no, not in Xenoblade 2. In Xenoblade 2, you don't get the option to turn off this enemy aggro unless you have the DLC expansion pass. Having an accessibility feature and gameplay option hidden behind a DLC paywall is just a little annoying. And here's the thing, the DLC is great, and the expansion pass is definitely worth it for the extra story and the freebies and all of that. But imagine you don't want the extra story or the freebies or any of that. You only want the feature to eliminate the enemy aggro. Do you still need to dish out $30 just for that one simple feature? This is my first ever fail. Field skills, in my opinion, are just not fun. They're not fun to use at all. And the absence of features relating to enemy aggro is very disappointing, and the fact that it's hidden behind a paywall is even more annoying. Number 8 is aesthetic and minimalist design. Interfaces should not contain information that is irrelevant or rarely needed. Every extra unit of information in an interface competes with the relevant units of information and diminishes their relative visibility. So for this one, we're going to take a tour through the menu of Xenoblade Chronicles 2, so let's go do that. So here you have Nia and her 3 blades there. The third one is hidden back there. So let's just go over here. WP to level up your arts. It's good over here that the highlighted blades show at the bottom, and it corresponds to that blade weapon. So like this specific blade, these knuckle claws correspond to the blade Nim down there, and these twin rings correspond to drill mark on the top of that little square chart thing. Here you can kind of set your blades. These are the blades out of the ones that Nia has bonded with. Affinity chart. This is your driver affinity chart. Accessories. This is a little annoying. So accessories, as you can see here, you have HP, strength, ether, dexterity, agility, luck, XP to next. For the longest time in this game, I was wondering, how do I level up my defense? How do I make my character more bulky? And of course, you can just go by HP. Like, the more HP you have, I guess the bulkier you will be. But that also comes with a little bit of a price, I guess, because, like, no matter how much HP you have, if you're still a weak character, you'll still get damaged a lot. So these accessories are good, but it's so drastic of a change compared to Xenoblade 1's armor. Just putting on a piece of armor, increasing your physical defense or ether defense, and equipping a weapon and increasing your auto attack. That's basically the same with the blades and the core chips, but all of these, it's strange that there's an auto attack stat for your blades, and then there's a strength stat for your driver. I guess what I'm trying to say with this, like, all of that stuff is just in this character menu. Just in this character menu, you can do all this stuff with your driver, all this stuff with your blades. You have 3 of them, 3 blades, 3 separate menus for your blades. What I'm trying to say is it's just a little overwhelming, very in your face. It takes a lot of time to just go in there and just experiment, try things out, trial and error. It's not very minimalist, not very aesthetically friendly. But for me, who's spent like close to 100 hours in this game, I know what I'm doing with these. But for a newcomer, the aesthetic and minimalist design of this doesn't help with kind of guiding them on what they're supposed to do to make their characters better. That's basically what I was trying to say here. Yeah. Heuristic 9 is Diagnosing Errors. Error messages should be expressed in plain language, precisely indicate the problem, and constructively suggest a solution. So, let's talk about field skills again, but in a little more positive way this time. Here's how field skills can diagnose errors. So whenever you complete a field skill, this is how it looks like. But whenever you fail to complete a field skill because you just don't have enough points towards that skill, this is what happens. What's interesting is that it shows you how many more levels of that skill you need to move forward. And of course, it tells you that you failed. This gets a fair. The way the game signifies to you the field skill hasn't succeeded is interesting and smart, but you still have to go back to your affinity chart, check the specific skill, and see what needs to be done to level it up. And in the end, it's still cumbersome and convoluted and annoying. And finally, number 10, help and documentation. Help and documentation content should be easy to search and focused on the user's task. Keep it concise and list concrete steps that need to be carried out. So this is a common opinion within Xenoblade 2 fans, and I'm just gonna come out and say it. The tutorials in Xenoblade 2 are notoriously bad. The problem is they're not written and explained properly to the player. Many combat and gameplay elements are either not explained fully, or poorly explained, or just entirely left out in these quick tutorial segments. Entirely. There are times that tutorials even somewhat lie to you. I wouldn't say straight up lie, but just give you a little misleading information. The tutorials lack visual aids and do not allow you to refer to them later on as well. This is a very big problem. Like, take Persona 5 for example. You have visual aids. You can see what the tutorial is explaining in like a small little picture. And Persona 5 has so many like explanatory tutorials. And whenever you want later on in the game, you can just go back and look through them, no matter how far in the story you are. Xenoblade does not do that, specifically Xenoblade 2. Tutorials are very important in a game, whether they're hidden and subtle or text-based tutorials that need to be understood. With the Xenoblade games, the tutorials have been hit or miss. When it comes to Xenoblade 2 though, the text-based tutorials could have worked, but the explanation should have been refined and elaborated a little bit more. In addition, visual elements and the option to refer back to these tutorials would have been very, very helpful. Unfortunately, I gotta give this a fail for everything I just mentioned above. So after all of that in-depth analysis and critique on Xenoblade 2, it might sound like I'm not a very big fan of this game. I did give this analysis of a few fails, and I've never given a fail in my past analyses on these heuristics in a game. So I just want to let you guys know, I still really like this game. It's amazing, I still recommend it. World design, the characters, the story, the music is just fantastic. The combat, there's so much to love about Xenoblade 2, but it was a very experimental game for Minimalist and the teams working with them at that time. There was a lot of factors going into this game that made it a little less, I would say, maybe cohesive compared to something like Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition, which had the opportunity to refine what was maybe not as refined in the Wii and 3DS versions of Xenoblade Chronicles. But what I'm really looking forward to in Xenoblade 3 is Mr. Tetsuya Takahashi was saying that he has been really observant on a lot of the criticisms from fans and critics alike. And Minimalist is very observant and very understanding of what they can do to make a game better. And he and his team are working very hard to make Xenoblade 3 the definitive Xenoblade experience, in the sense that they have learned a lot from everything they've done in Xenoblade Chronicles 1, 3D, Definitive Edition, Xenoblade Chronicles X, and Xenoblade Chronicles 2. So with all of that learned, all of the successes, all the good things, all the not so good things, I think what we're gonna get in July is a very cohesively designed and cohesively made Xenoblade game. So yeah, stick around for more Xenoblade videos coming soon. I'm very excited for this game in July. Be on the lookout for my first impressions and a decently sized review on the game eventually once I'm complete with it. So yeah, thanks for watching this video. If you like content like this, analysis, reviews, usability studies, my experiences with games, all those good things, all those fun things, be sure to subscribe to the channel, give this video a like if you enjoyed it, and stick around for more videos like this. This has been Nishquick, signing off. Have a great day.